South Africa's national security faces a shocking new threat, not from outside, but from within. The Navy chief has accused Treasury of sabotaging the SANDF through crippling budget cuts. As tensions rise, the country must confront a chilling question: is our defense force being dismantled? In a shocking development that has rocked South Africa's defense establishment, the head of the South African Navy has accused the National Treasury of sabotaging the South African National Defence Force (SANDF) through deliberate underfunding and neglect. Vice Admiral Mondlobi's explosive comments suggest that the very institution responsible for defending the country is being crippled by financial decisions made at the highest levels of government, raising serious questions about South Africa's readiness to respond to both internal and external threats. According to Lobbies, the SANDF is facing a slow and painful decline as a result of chronic underfunding, with the Navy particularly hard hit. In a recent strategic address, Lobbies did not hold back, calling out the Treasury for what he described as a systemic weakening of the defense force. Ships are idle, equipment is outdated, morale is dangerously low, and personnel are stretched to breaking point. He warned that South Africa's national security is now at serious risk, not because of a lack of will or discipline in the armed forces, but because of what he believes is a deliberate strategy to starve them of resources. The Treasury, in response, has denied any allegations of sabotage. Officials argue that the country is facing economic constraints and that all departments, including defense, must adapt to tighter budgets. But Lobbies has made it clear, the Navy can no longer function effectively, and if things continue as they are, South Africa will not be able to defend itself in a time of crisis. His comments have reignited national debate over defense priorities, accountability, and the future of the SANDF in a volatile world. For years, military leaders have quietly raised concerns about shrinking budgets, aging equipment, and dwindling operational capabilities. But Lobbies' remarks mark a dramatic escalation, a senior military figure publicly accusing the government of actively undermining national defense. This isn't simply about numbers on a spreadsheet, it's about whether the country can secure its borders, protect its coastline, and respond to crises at home and abroad. Lobbies described a navy in disrepair. Several vessels, he said, have not been able to leave port in months. Maintenance backlogs are growing. Modernization projects are stalled. Training has been scaled back. And while the SANDF continues to participate in peacekeeping missions and support civil authority when called upon, its ability to do so has been dramatically reduced. The Navy's ability to patrol one of the most strategically important coastlines in Africa, protect maritime trade routes, and deter illicit activities is rapidly eroding. Critics of the Treasury's approach argue that continued cuts to defense funding not only endanger national security but also damage South Africa's international credibility. The SANDF has long been seen as a stabilizing force on the continent, contributing to regional peace efforts and disaster responses. But if it loses the capacity to act effectively, that reputation, and the country's influence, could vanish. Opposition parties in Parliament have seized on Lobbies' remarks, calling for an urgent inquiry into defense spending and demanding answers from Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana. They argue that the government is playing a dangerous game with the country's safety and accuse Treasury of prioritizing short-term fiscal savings over long-term stability. Defense Minister Thandi Modise has acknowledged the challenges but stopped short of blaming the Treasury, urging instead for more dialogue and collaboration between departments. Political analysts say this situation highlights a growing rift within the state. When the military leadership begins to publicly accuse other branches of government of sabotage, it signals deep dysfunction. It also raises questions about civil-military relations in South Africa's democracy. Is the SANDF being intentionally sidelined? Is this a case of negligence or something more strategic? And what role should the military play in shaping its own future amid financial constraints? The situation is compounded by recent reports highlighting severe logistical and operational shortfalls across the SANDF. Fuel shortages have grounded aircraft. Army units have struggled with basic supplies. Bases have reported crumbling infrastructure. And the Navy, often seen as the most technical and capital-intensive branch, has borne the brunt. Lobby's stark warning paints a picture of a defense force barely able to keep the lights on, let alone defend a nation. For the South African public, these revelations are alarming. With internal unrest, growing transnational crime, and global security threats increasing, a weakened SANDF is a vulnerability the country can ill afford. Citizens have expressed deep frustration on social media, demanding accountability and urging government leaders to reconsider their priorities. Many view the military as one of the few institutions still capable of delivering order and stability in times of national emergency. Lobby's decision to speak out may prove to be a turning point. It is rare for military leaders to so directly confront political authorities in South Africa's post-apartheid era. His remarks reflect not only frustration but also a sense of duty to warn the nation before it is too late. The cost of continued inaction, he says, could be catastrophic. International observers have also taken note. South Africa's military capacity has long been viewed as vital to stability in the Southern African region. Any indication that the SANDF is faltering could affect strategic alliances, regional security initiatives, and peacekeeping deployments. The Vice Admiral's warning may have consequences far beyond national borders. It remains to be seen how the Treasury will respond. Will there be an effort to repair relations with the SANDF and boost funding? Or will the government double down on its current approach, forcing the defense force to adapt further or shrink entirely? Whatever the case, Lobby's words have set the stage for a broader reckoning over the role of the military in modern South Africa and the responsibilities of those who control its future. President Cyril Ramaphosa, a former commander-in-chief during his time as deputy president, now faces a critical choice. He must decide whether to intervene in the standoff between Treasury and the defense force or allow the situation to continue unchecked. His silence on the matter so far has been noted. But with the Navy publicly raising the alarm, the pressure is mounting for him to act decisively. In the meantime, the SANDF continues its work under increasingly difficult conditions. Soldiers, sailors, and airmen show up each day, committed to their mission despite limited resources. Their dedication underscores the urgency of Lobby's message. Without proper funding and political support, even the most committed defense force cannot function. This is a moment of truth for South Africa. Will the country invest in its security, or will it continue down a path that leads to decline, danger, and diminished global standing? Lobby's has sounded the alarm. Now the rest of the nation must decide whether it will listen.